Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Humza Yousaff gave what can only be described as a poor performance at his first FMQs. Even his own backbenchers were rolling their eyes in wonder. We're going to take a look at that and see why he is so unpopular. But there is also another video that I'm lining up. We're following this one. And it's all about how he is driving a wedge between the two factions of the party. He had the option of uniting the party, of bringing people together, and he chose the other way. So keep an eye out for that one coming too. But let's have a look at, first of all, the terrible first FMQs of his hopefully very short career. Here goes. So, Humza Yousaff's first FMQs is disastrous as his own backbenchers grimace at his contributions. The new First Minister was described as a rambling mess by some critics. In his first FMQs did not get off to a great start as he was accused of ranting instead of answering questions. Well, of course, because he's not got the capability to answer questions, particularly not hard questions. Questions that will make him appear stupid if he answered them truthful, and a liar if he does anything else. The man does not have the ability to think quickly on his feet, and there he is. And actually, that lady behind him with the pink and multicoloured hair, that's Christine Graham. I was watching him perform, if that's like the clown in the circus. And I noticed her behind, and she was constantly wobbling, like this, constantly. At first I wondered what the hell was going on. But the more I watched, I think she's probably got Parkinson's disease. Now, I know I can't possibly agree with her politics and that, but if it is Parkinson's, my grandfather had it, and if it is Parkinson's, then oh God help her, it's a terrible, terrible thing. But just the way that she was moving, so despite any kind of difference on political things, I do hope that she there's some form of treatment or something that happens, because it can be an absolutely debilitating condition. But anyway, moving on. Humza Yousaff was urged to get better at being First Minister as he spent his first FMQs ranting about how bad the UK government was amid a lambasting from the Scottish Tory leader Douglas Ross. But not telling people how good the SNP is, though, because he can't, can he? He can't do that. And why is everything the fault of the English? Why is everything the fault of Westminster? Why is everything the fault of everyone else and not him and not Sturgeon and not the SNP? It's an amazing thing how he's got this thing in his mind that everyone else is wrong and he is never ever wrong. But at one point, some of the SNP backbenchers even grimaced as the new leader of their party shouted about how the Conservatives and Mr Ross were a third-rate party and leader. FMQs was interrupted 5 times in 10 minutes by oil protesters, which ended up with the public gallery being cleared and only youngsters being allowed in. And they actually performed and behaved in a far more grown-up manner than the leader of the SNP. Mr Yousaff was questioned about his under-far cabinet reshuffle, where he acts prominent roles for tourism and social security, but brought in a £100,000 a year independence minister role. But in response, he ranted about how Scotland needs independence from the UK urgently, due to allegations that the Westminster government are at fault for the increase in food banks and austerity in the country. No, not at all. And also, this is an important thing. He's spending £100,000 a year of public money to give to a man who represents a minority political view in Scotland. This is not ruling for all Scots. This is the imposition of a minister for those Scots who happen to agree with his policies, paying people out of the public purse that the Scottish taxpayer has to pay, even if they disagree vehemently with what that man stands for. This man should not have a job. There should be no independence minister role, because that is divisive and is party political. And the government, yes, there's party politics, but the taxpayer should not be paying for party politics. It should be paying, the taxpayer pays for government, not for party. And this guy coming in to push this role at public expense will be highlighting and pushing and purely party lines. I'm not sure if it's entirely legal, but I'm sure he will try and make it legal, and he will push it because that's all he's got. He hasn't got answers for the economy. He hasn't got answers for the NHS. He hasn't got answers for transport. But he has got answers for the problems are all Westminster, and if we get independence, then nothing will ever go wrong again. Ever, I promise. Mr. Ross used his questions to wind up Mr. Yousaff, and he did very easily, because Yousaff cannot handle himself, as he accused him of reading from a script ad nauseum and not even responding properly to him. He said less than 48 hours ago, Humza Yousaff stood in this chamber and promised to be a First Minister for all of Scotland. And yesterday he had an opportunity to prove that with a new ministerial team, but he failed in his first big test. He said this is the largest government in the history of devolution, with more ministers than ever before. But key ministerial posts relating to social security and tourism were abolished, yet a new minister for independence was created. Humza Yousaff, he said, is leading a divided party that's got no confidence in his government's ability, and it's no wonder why. He stuffed his cabinet full of his predecessors' lackeys, ministers with almost a poorer track record in government as he has. I'm not kidding you. Douglas Ross nailed it. He got him and he nailed him, because Douglas Ross basically said the absolute truth. He has packed this cabinet with useless people, with non-entities, with people who cannot do their job. But their only reason for being there is that they're all lickspittles and kiss asses who are going along with his view, his worldview. Or actually, in fact, Nicola Sturgeon's worldview. Let's make no bones about it. He is continuation Sturgeon. He'll have been on the phone checking out what he has to say. More ministers than ever before, he says Ross, and yet he managed to appoint just one that didn't support him in the leadership election. He squeaked a win and then forced the former Finance Secretary Kate Forbes and her supporters out of government in an act of petty vengeance. And he's a very petty-minded man. He's full of hate. He's full of, bile. He doesn't like anyone or anything that in any way contradicts his world view. And of course, the thing is, the whole edifice will come tumbling down, because he's packed this place filled with morons like him. Anyway, I'm going to round off, come up, and we'll finish off this video. Well, I don't know if you watched it yesterday. I mean, I did. He got very annoyed with the interruptions. He kept raising his voice. He kept getting louder and more strident when he was, pushed on a point and was under pressure, and he seems to think that becoming louder makes your point more legitimate. No, it just means you're wrong loudly, not wrong quietly. He couldn't answer any of the questions. He kept changing it. He kept saying, somebody asked him a question and he'd answer a completely different question, because he knew he dare not answer the questions that were asked. I think even in the end, the chairman there was getting frustrated with the fact that he wasn't answering the questions asked of him, and of course he never will. Partially because he knows they'd be embarrassing, and oftentimes, of course, it's simply because he doesn't know, because he's a bit thick, and so you ask him a technical question, and he just looks blankly like a rabbit in the headlights, because he just, he just can't think on his feet. He doesn't have that ability to to come across and give a pat answer straight away. He's not a very good performer, and given how he split the party, of which more in the next video, I don't foresee him being leader for very long. If he makes it to the next election, I think that will be the end. I think the party will get a drubbing, and because of him, it'll be seen as his fault, and he will be requested to resign. Let's put it that way. Anyway. Enough of him. He was appalling. He just doesn't have the skills. He doesn't have the charm. He doesn't have the ability to hold an audience in his hand. And as I say, even his own backbenchers were rolling their eyes at his performance. Many of them, I'm sure, regretting standing him up and giving him the backing he needed to go on, to be elected by the members. Sad, isn't it? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you've seen here on the channel, please do hit that subscribe button right away. Ring that bell for notification of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, answer questions when you're asked them, much better than he does it, and goodbye.